Hello Patreon people, welcome to another big fun week here at the Professor Mop Top video update. As always, I'm Professor Mop Top. As always, thank you very much. This week, you have 4 cool things to look forward to. I'm going to be sending you 4 hunks of audio, songs from 1965. I'm also going to talk a little bit about 1965 in music. The first song you're going to hear about is one that's not written by the Beatles. It was written by a guy named Larry Williams, and the name of the song is Bad Boy. On May 10th of 1965, during the Help filming, the American record label, Capitol Records, wanted a couple of tracks that would be exclusive to the American market, and they went into the studio and they weren't sure what to record, so they found a couple of covers that they recorded, that they played rather, from the early days and recorded them. The first was Bad Boy, which Larry Williams first did in 1958. This date was May 10th, 1965, and they recorded first Bad Boy in the Morning and Dizzy Miss Lizzy. After that, I'll tell you a little bit about that later, but that's coincidentally Larry Williams' birthday, and I don't think that they knew this at the time. They just happened to record these 2 songs on the day that happened to be Larry Williams' 30th birthday, rather. They played this song live a lot in the early days when Hamburg, when they would have to record, when they would have to play for hours and hours and hours at a time. This was one that they played a whole bunch of times. They hadn't played it a lot by 1965. It had been off of their set list for a couple years, but because they played it so many times, they were able to rehearse it and record it in 4 takes. They also did some cool overdubs on this. There's 2 guitar solos that George is playing. There's an organ overdub as well as an electric piano. And what the cool thing is about this is in America, it was released in 1965 on the Beatles' 6th album, but it wasn't available in the UK until late 1966 on a collection of Beatles oldies. Funny to think of in 1966, them calling Beatles songs oldies. The second song they recorded that day, and the second hunk of audio you're going to get this week, is Dizzy Miss Lizzy, also written by Larry Williams. This one was in 1958, another one that the band did hundreds of times while playing live shows. They weren't sure where they were going to put it. They figured eventually they'd find a place to release it in the UK. They wound up putting it as the last song on the Help album because they didn't want to end the album with Yesterday, which wasn't a real upbeat song. Dizzy Miss Lizzy, considerably more upbeat. Again, they recorded it quickly and added some overdubs. They added a Hammond organ and a cowbell. There's 2 guitars from George Harrison. There's also 2 tambourines. They played it for the BBC, and they played it live quite a bit. So they knew the song, and they were able to pull it out of their brains and record it quickly, and they did that twice in the same night. Also in 1965, much later in the year, is Drive My Car. Now, Paul wrote it. He needed a little bit of help, so he asked his friend John to help, and they kind of disagree over who came up with how much. They were trying to write a Motown song, and they were trying to be funny. Both songs from the Rubber Soul album that you're going to hear about this week were ones that had a punchline. John and Paul trying to write songs that were a little bit funny. On October 13th of 1965, which is just 2 months before the album was released, the first session of the album, they recorded Drive My Car. This was the first session to go past midnight, and the funny thing about this song is the girl wants to hire a driver, but she has no car. There's a punchline. It's funny. There's shared lead vocals by John and Paul, plus John adds a secondary vocal, and then the background vocals are by John, Paul, and George, which means that there are 6 singing Beatles on this song. This is the track that has 2 tambourines. I was wrong about it when I said that Dizzy Miss Lizzy was. Please forgive me. There's 2 tambourines on it. Most likely Ringo played them both. John may have played one. There's a cowbell on it, and there's a piano, and it has a punchline. It's funny. The very next day, the Beatles started recording a song called This Bird Has Flown. Eventually, that morphed into Norwegian Wood. Eventually, it became Norwegian Wood. This Bird Has Flown. John Lennon had an affair, an extramarital affair, and he wanted to write about it, so he kind of disguised it a little bit slightly in this song. This is another one that Paul and John disagree about who came up with how much. The big finish of the song is the punchline of the song. And the cool thing is that when the singer wakes up and he's left all alone and the girl is gone, he burns down her house. This is what the Beatles thought was funny. I gotta tell you, I think it's pretty funny myself. They were pushing themselves to write in new directions, to make songs that were totally unique and very, very interesting. It was a very, very Dylan-esque sounding song in the fact that it was folk and it was all acoustic, primarily acoustic, but it also had a sitar on it, which was a brand new noise that George had just discovered. It's one of, if not the first, Lennon McCartney songs to have a parenthetical title. It was the second song on the Rubber Soul album, and on a personal note, it's among my favorites. In 1965 in music world, I've been slowly getting through the British Invasion. The Dave Clark 5 was the project for last week. Got a little bit done every day. Petula Clark, rather, not Patsy Cline. She is not part of the British Invasion. Petula Clark is my project for the next couple days, and then after that, I'm going to keep moving through the British Invasion. And as always, thank you so much for being wonderful people. This is Professor Mop Top. Thank you.